Georgia's 8th Congressional District, Congressman Austin Scott. Congressman, thank you so much for joining me. So, Congressman, we've been watching all of these videos that are going viral of these pro-abortion protesters harassing and intimidating our justices in their neighborhoods. And yet we still haven't heard from the White House. They haven't actually forcefully condemned this type of behavior. In fact, it seems like they're okay with it.
Yeah, they're absolutely okay with it, and it's such a double standard. The leak from the Supreme Court was not okay. That's not acceptable. Hasn't happened in the history of the country. Our justices, whether we agree with them or not, they need to be able to have honest discussion among each other without worrying about a breach like that. So I do think Justice Roberts is doing right to investigate it. I do hope that when they find who did this, that they're prosecuted, and if that person has a JD, I hope they're disbarred. So it's not okay what was done. It's not okay for the White House to be silent. Their silence is actually encouraging the protests at the justice's home. These are human beings. They have families. We need to respect them and the role that they play in our government. And I'm disappointed that Joe Biden won't come out and just flat out condemn the actions of these radicals that are attacking our justices, and they're attacking clinics and businesses of people that are simply encouraging adoption instead of abortion. And so it is where the White House and the Biden administration is. They are the radicals that are actually supporting abortion out to the 7th, 8th, and 9th month. The majority of Americans don't support that. And I expect that the majority of Americans are going to go to the polls in November, and they're going to let the president know that they don't support this rabid agenda that the Biden and Harris administration has.
And it's one thing, people have the right to protest, but you don't have the right to intimidate justices peacefully. I mean, that is against the law. And I'm kind of surprised that, neighborhoods haven't been blocked off and there hasn't been more action to protect our justices. And we did hear from the White House on this, as I mentioned, and we have another clip of Jen Psaki. So let's listen to exactly what she had to say. Roll tape.
I know that there's an outrage right now, I guess, about protests that have been peaceful to date, and we certainly continue to encourage that outside of judges' homes, and that's the president's position. But the silence is pretty deafening about all of the other intimidation that we've seen to a number of people.
Yeah, so they continue to encourage it. I mean, it's totally despicable. If you think back at the Trump administration, their White House press secretary had to condemn everything, even things that they didn't even know about, because, the mainstream media would hold them to account over everything. Everything was their fault. And then when we have this going on, again, complete silence. We have a lot of people in the mainstream media who are endorsing and supporting this. We've seen a lot of despicable things from blue check marks on Twitter. And my question is, though, this investigation in regards to the leaker, I mean, I haven't really seen much activity on it. I hope that they are trying to identify how this got leaked as soon as possible, and also to prevent something like this from ever happening again in the future. It's completely unprecedented what happened, and people talk about threats to democracy all the time. I mean, this is a threat to democracy.
Absolutely, and our forefathers understood that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's why they gave us a system of government where you have a justice that is independent from an executive branch, that is independent from a legislative branch. And that is the genius that our forefathers had. And they didn't really understand governing as much as they understood men and power and how power corrupts. And so the justices need to be able to do their job. They need to be able to do their job without intimidation. And I look back at what, what the message that's coming out of the West Wing and the White House and the president's press secretary, and I think about the double standard that is so obvious to every American citizen out there and everybody watching, and that if the Trump administration or anybody in the Trump administration had said anything like that, the outrage that there would have been in the mainstream media. And this is actually Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's press secretary that is making these statements, actually, encouraging protests at the personal residence of our justices. It's not okay. The Biden administration's in trouble. They're in trouble because gas is hitting record highs. They're in trouble because our food prices are hitting record highs. They're in trouble because, candidly, the economy is beginning to suffer from their irresponsibility. And so what do? They just encourage more extremism on the issue of abortion. And again, Americans don't support late-term abortion. Even people who are pro-choice don't support late-term abortion. Now look at where the Democratic Party has moved with their legislation and what they want to do with a taxpayer-funded abortion up to and through the 7th, 8th, and 9th month. It's just not okay.
It isn't, yeah. And we did hear from Beto O'Rourke in Texas, and he was saying that there should be no limits on abortion, that should just be up to the woman. Let the woman decide. Okay, yeah, that's pretty despicable.
Well, I hope people remember that.
Yeah.
I hope people remember that.
I hope they do, too. It's so revealing. Well, Congressman, we're out of time. We've got to leave it here. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.